All right, Nick, you got the floor, man.
Amazing. Awesome. I'm going to run you guys through this. Just as a show of hands, really quick, I'm really curious, like who's either a small business owner or a professional? It's like everybody. That's what I figured. Okay, cool. This presentation will be perfect. This is literally for you. So I'm going to start this off really quick because this is kind of an interesting concept. And this is actually where a lot of the power of social media is coming from now. So the way that people chose to buy products and services has changed. It's really got exacerbated during COVID. It was kind of already going this direction, but as you guys remember, COVID forced a lot of things to change very rapidly. Things have kind of swung back a bit, but specifically in this category, when it comes to how people are using social media, it has not changed. And so the real big thing with being a professional or a small business owner, or anyone who's trying to sell anything or get leads online, is you need to pass the social media audit. This is the new barrier that you need to overcome. Most people probably haven't even heard of this concept, but it's interesting because a lot of people didn't really double down on it because so many people thought that it was assumed that everyone was doing this. But it's kind of interesting to know that not everybody actually understands this. But this is how people buy in 2025. So according to recent data, there's tons of stats. Like a lot of these stats, by the way, they're like typically the same as far as they're right around like 70%. So like 74, 70%, 80%, whatever. There's just a ton of stats. If you aggregate them all, it's like right around 75% of people use social media to either research, consult reviews, or make a decision when they actually are going to purchase a product. Okay, so here's the actual process. Like here's how it actually goes. So let's say you're looking for a service. I'm going to say, and here's a good one. I'm looking for an electrician. It's home. It hits home now really well. So I go online or on my phone and I Google really quick, electrician, Columbus, Ohio, and I just see what pops up. Typically what pops up is something that is like geolocated, and that's done off of SEO, or it's done by star rating. So star rating is typically like a paid service, meaning like it's your stuff goes to the top of the SEO if it's an ad, or generally speaking, just because it has more traffic, it goes to the top of the search. So let's say I finally find one that I like. It's like, I don't know, Johnny Electrician. And I'm like, cool, this guy looks like he's like a hometown hero guy. And it's not like one of these big corporate big boxes. So I'm probably going to get a sick deal. So what I do is when I first go to their website, I already know all the stuff that they're going to sell me. It's like a billboard. It's like, I already know all the shit that you're going to tell me that I am going to want to hear, trust, values, on time. So I expect that from the website, of course. The thing that I do next is I scroll all the way through their website to find their social media icons. And what I'm doing is I'm looking essentially for almost like a two-factor authentication. I know the stuff that they're going to tell me about. So one, they have a website. That's good. It tells me they're professional. Two, I want to see if they're the real deal. And when I go to their social media, what I'm really looking for is I'm looking to see, do they have videos about being an electrician? Is this a topic that they're talking about constantly? Is their whole page just filled with them being an electrician? What that tells me is that they take their company very seriously, but also they have a super in-depth understanding of being an electrician. And so that's sort of like this final sale in my mind, because now that we've grown so digital savvy, the last place that we go to really understand what a company is their social media. And not to go too wildly off topic, but it's because of the real reason that social media became so popular is because it was derived from authenticity. The whole point was that this is my true self. So as a business, you can essentially produce that to show your true self as a business. And this is the last step of people's decision-making process. So the people who have this very robust social media that shows that they're obsessed with this topic, that they're doing it, that they're doing it all the time, this is the last part that if you have that, people will say, cool, I want to work with you. And then they go back through the website. They rarely go through the DMs. And the people who do not have social media that is robust and is good and is consistent with what the business is, those people unfortunately lose the customer because they're not convinced that you're the real deal. Because your website is, again, it's like a sales tool. So they need to double check that with your social media. So this is about us, just so you have like a good understanding of like how do we gain all this knowledge. I started out as a Yale student. I was in YouTube before YouTube could be monetized. So my TA at Yale became one of the first like viral video sensations. And so I hopped on this digital thing super duper early. I started working for College Humor. That was my first job. Then I started working in TV. So I started creating digital content and TV content for companies like Discovery, The Today Show, Awesomeness TV, which is owned by DreamWorks. The Weather Channel had a full-time job for them. So I really started to understand TV, digital, and storytelling, but specifically like how to produce content for this medium. Eventually, I learned how to create short form content that would go viral all the time. And so we ended up gaining 9 million followers on my personal accounts and then another 25 million on accounts that I wasn't the face of. And so this created a bunch of other opportunities where we got to basically do this exact same kind of content for Toyota, Procter & Gamble, Samsung. Essentially, we were creating short form viral content for all these major companies, Fortune 5000s, Fortune 500s. Eventually, what happened is guys in GoBundance asked me to start talking, to give a speech about social media. So I said, okay, no problem. I'd love to do that. That was like close to a year ago now. And I gave that presentation, and then people in GoBundance started saying, hey, could you do social media for me? And it actually evolved quite a bit over time, but I'm going to share all my findings in this presentation. So I've learned that the rules for how to get 34 million followers as an influencer are the exact same rules that you need to follow for a business. It's literally the exact same process. So there's really no difference for doing it personally or for a business. And I just want to show you guys kind of this cool, kind of acclaimed fame. I had the most viewed video on TikTok of the entire platform for the year of 2019 with 267 million views. And then this is cool. I just wanted to kind of point this out that when you get really involved in social media, so a lot of times people are like, well, you know, I don't know what to expect or I don't know where it's going to go. One really cool thing that happens is if you get really invested in social media, opportunities will come about that you did not anticipate or expect. One of them for me was I was asked to host 3 seasons of a reality TV show, literally because people saw my social media. They're like, cool, I like that. I like what he's doing. Come over and host this Netflix show. I didn't even audition for it. They literally just gave me the job, which was pretty sweet. And that same exact kind of concept can happen for people who are using social media for their business as well. Okay, so we know you need to have it to pass a social audit. A lot of times too, like after you're passing the social audit, you're going to be using your social media for awareness. So anybody who sees your content, they go into the awareness funnel. Then the objective here is then to get conversions, right? So you're basically getting leads from your social media, and eventually those can turn into transactions. And so the social audit is really the whole concept of taking a cold lead and making them a warm lead. So when they do reach out, you can seal the deal. But you can actually also do this exact same thing, literally using only your social media. And so before we get to how to do that, which is later in this sort of presentation, I want to show you guys what does good social media look like. Because we kind of need to have like a baseline for, all right, we know we need it. We know that it's doing awesome stuff. What does it look like when it's being done well? So Robert Ross, this is a guy that I reached out to. Him and I kind of like came up together, I guess you could say. And he's a super honest dude. And so I said, hey, like of all of your social media, I said, like, how much of it, like how much of your business do you actually do through your social media? And he said 75% of his total business is done through social. And I thought that was fascinating because I actually expected that number to be much lower, and it's actually much higher. And he said, in fact, that last 25% still touches his social media at some point, but it's not exactly like a transaction through his social media. He only does 1 to 2 videos a week, which is pretty sweet. Like you don't need to be creating a video every single day. And then consistent lo-fi. Here's the key really with like what makes good social content is consistent lo-fi production with high value concepts. So like you don't need a fancy camera. You don't need anything of that nature. You just need an iPhone. We're going to get exactly what you need later. But like, I just want to show proof of like, you don't need awesome stuff. I don't know. You guys can raise your hand and tell me if this will actually, if you guys will hear the volume on this, but I'm going to play this just to show what this, do you guys hear the volume on that?
No.
Okay. It's so weird. It's like, it does for Google, but it doesn't for Zoom. I was going to, you're not going to get any volume on this, but I just want to show you what this looks like. So I just wanted to show you like some key things here. he's holding the iPhone. He doesn't even have someone else doing it. He's shooting on this side, which we actually don't recommend, but it's like the worst camera lens. But he's gained a significant following and does the majority of his business by literally doing this. So these are really low-fi videos. He has no lighting kit. He's just shooting in his house. But he's got a really good hook, and he's figured out sort of the mechanics of how to do really good social media, because what he's doing is he's essentially like soft selling up front in this video. Also, if you look over here on the right, this is a picture. This is a really good example of how to have your profile set up. And the things I want to point out here is that he has 4 lines of what he can do for his customer. This is essentially, again, soft selling. And there's very little confusion about what he does. It's very easy to read. You can think of your profile on Instagram or any of the social media accounts as your digital business card. So it's got to basically like tell your followers what you do without selling them too hard. That's actually what like the links typically are. That will go to another page that will actually people can get a hold of you. Also, he has these little like icons down here. It always says portfolio reviews, book, and media. This is like a new function that I think it came out like 3 or 4 years ago. It essentially allows you to like save stories. And this allows people to learn more about you in the video format without having to scroll through all of the reels. If you look down at the reels, you can see that they're all very consistent. This tells me, as someone who is a user of social media, that he takes it seriously. And so that if I were to like one video, I'm probably going to like a lot of his videos. And I'm convinced that he takes himself seriously enough for me to be interested in what he actually offers as a product. Okay, so here's a guy that I don't know if you guys know, but he's a GoBundance guy. I love Tim. He also does a really good job at social media. So Tim owns this company called All Western Mortgage, of which it's so funny because I am actually the exact result of what I'm exactly telling you guys how people actually consume. I didn't really know Tim. I met him at a conference. I went on his social media. I stalked him. I looked at all of his videos and I was like, oh, damn, this dude like really knows his shit. And so I said, cool, I'm just going to like keep that information tucked away in my head sometime. Well, eventually, like 2 years later, I needed to do a bunch of cash out refinances, and I hit my DTI locally, or my kind of like my upper limit, my cap limit for my local banks. And so I said, hey, Tim, like, can you help me? I know you know everything about mortgages. And literally 2 weeks ago, we closed on a mortgage that he set up for me, since he does mortgage loan origination. And so this is kind of a perfect example. When I asked him to, he told me that he derives a majority, if not all, of his business from social media. So I asked him to explain that a little further. And he said that at every point in time, somebody looks at his social media before they talk to him. So he does a lot of like in-person meetings with real estate agents so that he can get more business this way. So people know who to go to. And they say they all kind of like watch his video consistently because, you know, it populates in that the scrolling reels as they're on Instagram. And so they see Tim over and over and over again. They fall in love with Tim. They feel very comfortable with Tim. And eventually they work with Tim. And that's sort of the beauty of social media. And so that's what he means by he derives, if not all of his business from social media, in the sense that like sometimes he meets those people in real life, but they still touch his social media at some point in time before they actually end up sealing the deal with him. And I'm the perfect example of that. He also said it's my digital resume, which I thought was really interesting. He said it acts as his social proof. So he doesn't need to like hard sell people that he's good at his job. He just needs to say like, hey, go to my Instagram or like check out my Instagram for further information, which again, anyone who gets into that awareness funnel can then be sold that he is the guy for the job. Okay, so we know it's awesome. We know it works. I'm actual proof myself that it works. I'm sure you guys on the call, you guys probably do something similar to this when you're looking for contractors or whoever, or whatever is going on in your business. So like literally, what is stopping everybody from using social media? So here are like kind of like the big, like what I've run into at least, where I've sort of like these big misconceptions, these big roadblocks. The first one is that you need to have a huge audience with a ton of followers. A lot of people think that because they're relying on social media as being their only marketing strategy. I would never recommend this. I think it should be one of your pieces of your marketing strategy. You should be doing all of them if you can, if you have the budget to do so. If you don't have a budget, like a huge budget, I think SEO and social media work really well together. But I think in general, the lower your budget gets, I think the more important social media is, because it allows you to open up your digital funnel a lot easier than it is to do things like, I don't know, a billboard, or you can pay a lot of people to do like kind of like macro marketing for you. But I think social media does it more effectively because of the incentive of the algorithm, which I'll explain here in a bit. So you don't need to have a ton of followers. You really just need to have a quality of audience of followers. So let's say you're a local company like the electrician that I literally used today, and he only services Central Ohio. So he doesn't need to have 2 million followers. Because if he had 2 million followers, those people are just followers that he's probably never going to interact with. They may give him some opportunities like later, but it's not necessary that he has a huge following. He just needs maybe 5,000 people, and those 5,000 people just need to live in Columbus, Ohio. And so it's really about the quality of your audience. Also, too, when I was talking about earlier, the part of the social media audit does not include followership. So to have a very good, put together, well-designed social media does not mean that you need to have a huge following. People don't even care. Like the electrician that I went to today, like I don't assume that he's going to have a big following. Why would he? He's a local electrician. I just need to know that he takes his social media seriously. So you can pass the social media audit without having a huge following. The quality of audience I just talked about. Also, every single person that sees your content gets put into the awareness funnel. So views actually matter way more than followers. Followership, weirdly enough, on certain platforms has no relationship to your views. So you can get all views from people who aren't followers on certain platforms, mainly like something like YouTube. And then on Instagram, 99.9% of your viewership could come from your followers, depending on what the content is. Again, I'm going to talk about that more in depth, but really the reason why is because the way the algorithm works is this. It takes all of the data that you basically put into a video, it transcribes it via AI, and it takes photos of the actual content itself, and it learns what's in that piece of content. It then takes that information and it goes finds people on those platforms that would be the most interested in what that video is about. And those algorithms are incredibly intelligent. They are like 99.999% accurate. Like there's no fooling the algorithm, but this works in your favor. Because if you're a small business and you're creating content that solves your current customers or potential customers' problems, now the algorithm is literally working for you like a sales agent. It's literally going out there and being like, hey, you'd probably like this video if you want to know the top 10 ways to manage an Airbnb or whatever, right? Like if you're looking for investors for a real estate portfolio, because it's finding people that are interested in that topic and it's solving their problem by giving them that education. And then hence it's making them a follower. It's making them a potential customer. And so that's why you don't need to have a ton of followers. You just need a really good quality audience, and that can slowly grow over time, and that can grow. It doesn't, put it this way, it doesn't benefit you to have a lot of followers that aren't interested in your topic. Algorithm finds the right people. There's another thing too about equipment. I think a lot of this stems from a lot of people, they look online and they see their favorite influencer, and their favorite influencer has a ton of followers, and then they see their podcast and they're like, oh my God, it's so professional, it looks so amazing. Ironically enough, what happens specifically in short form digital content is that the more professional it looks, the worse it performs. And the reason why is because, again, of the roots of social media. The roots of social media is that it is as authentic as possible. It is your authentic true self. So the further and further that we get away from authentic, meaning I just picked up my phone and shot it, and we get more towards we know that it's this big fancy production, we start to presume that big fancy production had like more hands, more people, and it tends to start to feel more inauthentic. And so good fancy production is probably really good for podcasting, which is good for long form, but it's really bad for short form. Like it just doesn't work. So all you really need is an iPhone 12 or better. You can use iPhone voice memos for voiceover, or any type of smartphone for doing the voiceovers for your actual videos or scripts. You really just need a low-fi short lens, again, because it feels more native to the platform. And when I say short lens, it's like literally a short lens, like it's really short. They're just the little tiny flat lenses, which is what an iPhone. I always recommend shooting on a smartphone when you're doing social media content. Also, when it comes to lighting, you really just need a good, well-lit corner of the house. You can also use like a little tiny like LED light that can like literally clip onto your phone. It's just really low level stuff. In fact, the more low level it looks, the more authentic it looks. And then typically the more, the longer the actual engagement curve is. Also, this is a big one. It takes too much time. I hear this all the time. People are like, I'm too busy. But it's really, you really only need about 1 to 2 hours a week when you have the right systems in place. I'm going to put an asterisk on that, which says when you have the right systems in place, because you do need the correct structure and systems, but your actual time commitment, like the person doing the content, you only really need 1 to 2 hours a week. That is plenty enough to film everything, to actually make the content. And that time too, from like when you start to learn to when you actually start doing it, it shrinks dramatically. And the reason why is because social media content is just not terribly difficult to do. I mean, millions of people make social media content. Like 12-year-olds make social media content. Like it's really easy once you learn it. The learning curve is very steep. As a business owner too, you have all the creativity. This is something we run into a lot. People are like, well, what happens when I run out of ideas? And the thing about it is that if you have customers now and you've been in business, that tells me that you probably have 3, 5, maybe even 10 years worth of knowledge. That knowledge is what is going to be the never-ending well of content ideas for your customers. Because again, as a business owner, the content that you're going to want to create is content that solves your potential clients or clients' problems today, like last year or into the future. So you should basically have content for infinity. Okay, so what system worked for us after doing this for 13 years? This is basically the same system that worked for me in YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Shorts, all of it. This is all the same system. It's the exact same process. The very first thing, the number one thing, if you take nothing else away from this entire presentation, this is the most important line, which is when you're doing social media content, you just need to figure out who you are making content for. If you do that one thing, everything else will follow downstream, will be incredibly easy. Because once you understand, and we're going to talk about this a bit more of like who your avatar is, and you understand what that audience is, everything falls into place. The scripts, you understand who you're writing for. The why you're making the content falls into place, because you first need to understand who your ideal customer is. Then the why falls into place, and the what falls into place. Typically, with businesses, we recommend doing like educational content, because educational content is kind of like that is the honey that you put out that will attract people, because you can't offer them commercials. They don't want to be sold. But what they do want is they want someone to solve their problems. So what you can do is you can give them free information that will solve their problems. And then once you become the authority, they will go to you because you're the authority that solves their problem. So they will most likely then go to you when it comes to actually transacting on whatever service you are offering. So in the beginning, you just got to learn the basics. There's no way around it. The analogy I give here is that you can have the fanciest gym, the fanciest workout clothes, but the trainer cannot lift the weights for you. It's just impossible. And so there are parts of social media that you just have to do yourself. And that is the filming, most likely. If you elect to do it all yourself, coming up with the creative, filming, and working with an editor, those are all things that you can learn. This is not complex stuff. A lot of the information of how to do it well is stuff that takes some time to learn, but how to actually do the social media, like actually how to film, simple. I guarantee you, if you have kids that are teenagers, they can probably show you. Eventually the content starts rolling out. You start making content. You're starting to see it, actually get views. This is my favorite part of the entire process. With any new channel, this is always the same way. You're going to throw out a bunch of stuff. You're going to literally just like see what works. So you're going to create like 25 to 30 pieces of content. That's like 2 months worth, maybe, roughly speaking, maybe a little bit longer if you're just learning how to do it. In that time frame, you have a ton of ideas. You saw a viral video, you want that to work, you want to copy your competitor, you're trying a bunch of shit, and you're just going to start seeing what works. And the reason why you just can never engineer this in the beginning is because you don't know how the audience is going to respond to you. So you don't know how you carry your own information. And once you start to figure out what the audience starts to really respond to, That's the stuff that you're going to hang on to. An analogy here is like, let's say you're going to go fishing in a new spot and you don't even know what fish are out there. You're going to throw every lure that you have out there until you find the one that works. And if it's a frog lure and then you're catching bass, you're going to keep throwing out frog lures. You're not going to go back to something that's not working. And so that's why I love this part, is because you can do no wrong in this stage, which is kind of like really nice, because after you get through, the pre-pro of like figuring out who you're creating content for, you got to learn all this new shit. Then you get to like be in this sort of like carefree zone, which is like, you just get to create whatever you want, see what happens. Now, eventually you've created enough stuff and you want to see results. And the way that you do that is you study the data and analytics. And this is going to really help you sort of guide where you go to next. So you don't want to just keep creating forever and not having anywhere to go. You have to have a compass. And the compass is the data and the analytics and A/B testing. And I'm going to show you exactly what metrics in like 4 slides. So we're going to come back to this here in a bit, but that's really what's going to guide you. Now, eventually, what's going to happen is this. It's like you're like 6 months in, 7 months in, maybe like 9 months. Your brand will begin to take shape. We define going from your voice, which is like you're finally able to create content, to developing a brand when you start to get inbound, meaning people are like DMing you for a service that you offer or maybe don't offer. And that's what this slide is all, or this number 5 is all about. I always recommend that the business owner maintains a level of flexibility to open up their business to new endeavors that perhaps they weren't offering before, based off of what social media is telling them. I'm going to give you an example. Alvin in the LA chapter, he has been doing social media very consistently for, I'd say, 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And he did it 2 years ago when I told him, hey, I just told him straight up, hey, you got to do this. This would be perfect for you. You have the right personality. Just like run with it. And so he did. And as he started doing that, he started getting inbound where people were starting saying, hey, do you offer a coaching course, or can I invest in your project? And that's actually not what he started his social media journey for. He started it to actually get people to have them sell their house to him. He thought like he would capture people that would be like, hey, you're doing a good job. Like, I want to sell you my house. That actually never happened. And so he didn't want to do coaching, but he was definitely down to take on investors. And so he thought, oh, this is awesome. Like, I can use my social media to gather investors. And so I always say, like, maintain a level of flexibility kind of from the onset, because what'll happen is as you get really far down the pipeline on this, you won't feel the need to like having to like stay to what the business is doing now. And this will allow you to actually expand your business and hopefully generate more revenue. So eventually what happens is that you're creating content, and at a certain point, your organic content will be generating leads and sales. You may hit a glass ceiling though with that if you're a local business. If you're a local business, like your own little local area, the algorithm is going to work super duper hard in order to find all the people that are interested in that content. But eventually it will run like to its max, right? Like it can't go any further. This is where leverage or paid media can come in. And so what you can do here is, and we only recommend this at like literally step number 6, is you look back at all of your organic content and you see which videos did best. The best organic videos are the best indicators for what ads to create. So unfortunately, sometimes marketing companies will say like, we can do your paid media, absolutely. And they start creating ads and they start running them on social media. Problem with that is that they have no data. They have no idea if that ad is going to work or not. They have literally, there's not a lick of evidence that says like that's going to work. But if you go through all these steps to eventually get to paid media, you can look back at all of your organic material and you can see which ones did well organically. And you now know absolutely that that video did well. So it will, of course, do well as a paid media ad. So you take that piece of organic content, you reshape it, you retool it, and that becomes your actual ad. Also, with ads, when you're scrolling in a short form platform, people don't want to be sold. And so because they don't want to be sold, they find it incredibly offensive to be scrolling and to see something that looks like an ad, that was shot like on a long camera lens, or it says like, hi, I'm Johnny Electrician. And if you ever need, it's like, no, I don't want that shit. I want it to feel just like every other video that I'm on this platform. So it should have the same feel and the same hook. It should have all the same elements of just a regular piece of social media content. And so for that reason, the best thing to use is your regular social media content. And then you just change the call to action, the CTA at the end, and that becomes your actual piece of paid media.
Hey guys, if you've been a listener of my show for any length of time, you know that I attribute a lot of my growth to learning from the guys inside of GoBundance. If you think that GoBundance is a tribe that you might be interested in joining, then reach out to me. Go to WyattGraves.com, connect with me. I'll reach out personally with you and answer any questions about GoBundance to see if it's the right fit for you.
Okay, so we're going to take a closer look here at some of these things that we just covered. So the first one, again, and this is like the most important thing. So like literally the most important part of this whole presentation is like understand who you're producing for. We talk about this in GoBundance a lot. Create your avatar. This is incredibly important with social media because you have a really good idea, I can guarantee it, of who your current customer is. And that's exactly who your current person that you're going to be producing for on social media is also going to be. So we need to know the ideal audience is your potential customers, age, location, gender, where they shop, where they hang out, what they do. Like, just get like extremely detailed here, and that's going to help. The reason why is this. The fundamentals, the basis for social media content is script writing. And when you write, you think to yourself, you talk to yourself the same way that you talk to someone else. You talk to your mom, you talk to your wife or husband, you talk to everybody differently. And so when you sit down to write and you're thinking of your potential customer, you will choose words that will match that exact dialogue that would be appropriate for your customer. And so again, that's why it's so important that you create that avatar and really hold that person in your mind when you get to the script writing phase. So this is a slide that's going to kind of like be kind of jarring, but here with me, it's kind of meta, but it's very important to understand. Social media is intended to look authentic, but it still needs to be produced. So most of the content that you're watching on social media that you think is super organic, it is super authentic, it looks like someone just literally pulled the phone right out of their pocket and they just started chatting to you. It's not actually how it works. How it actually works is they have a script that they've studied other creators, they've figured out what good hooks are, they've perfectly written out a script by a line, like they've literally done this, like each segment they've done it to like, they've chosen what B-roll they're gonna have, they've engineered it perfectly. And then they've shot it to look like they're so smart and they're so passionate that they literally just do this shit all the time and they're just able to talk to the camera seamlessly. The best social media content is very produced to look very authentic. It's kind of like reality TV. It's like, it's $1 million budget to make it look like it's like happening organically, but it's all produced. So when you get to the script writing phase, which is the basis for every single piece of social media content, there is a formula. This is the exact same formula that every piece of social media content that's ever been successful ever has used. And it goes like this: hook, subhook, problem, resolution, call to action. The hook is the thing that gets you really interested in it. It's like a really provoking question or a really provoking statement. Sometimes it's a visual that then turns into something totally different, or it's like a shocking thing that you just can't look away from. That's the hook. The subhook is the thing that transitions you from that shocking thing or that eye catcher to the problem that you're going to solve. Now, it's not exactly like a problem you're stating like, I have a problem, but there is something at hand that needs to be resolved, right? There is some issue or there's some topic that needs to have a problem and then a resolution. So after the problem has been stated or created or whatever, right, there's some issue that then you then solve that problem or talk about how to remedy it. The very end is the call to action. And my recommendation is, like, roughly speaking, like 1 in 5, 1 in 10 are call to actions that are self-benefiting. All others are non-self-benefiting. And what I mean by that is you don't want to, at the end of your video, if you're the electrician guy, right? Like, you don't, at the end of the video, you don't be like, and if you want help with your electrician, make sure to call me for a free quote. Like, no, that's selling. Instead, you want to offer open dialogue to say something like, hey, have you ever had this problem before? Let me know in the comments below. You want to open up this conversation to build rapport with your audience. Because one of the big things with social media is that you want to build a relationship with your audience before you ever ask them to do anything. Following for more education, I think, is usually like a really easy value prop. That's an easy kind of neutral one. But I just really recommend not selling the majority of your call to actions, make them non-beneficial, open dialogue in order to engage with your audience. This
What was
is
the
again,
ratio? Hold on. You said the ratio. What was the ratio? I mean, I know that you were kind of general about it, but
yeah, I do like 1 in 10, or like I actually there. This is getting really deep. There's a service called ManyChat, and I don't know if you guys, and we can get into this in the Q&A, but like, there's actually a more effective way than saying like go to the link in my bio. It's actually say like comment the word below. That opens up this service, which is I believe it's an AI service, and you say this word, and then it does an automatic DM, and that's a much easier way to soft sell to your audience. And so I'd say like 1 in 5, 1 in 10, roughly speaking, is a self-serving, like directly, I'm selling you some product, like that's roughly, because you just don't want to be a salesman. And the way that you can get around it, there's a couple of marketing techniques. One of them is called ManyChat. And so we'll get to that here in just a second here. So this is, I just want to briefly go through this. This is just styles of content. This is just to make you aware that no one style of content is better than the other. So talking head, you guys have probably seen a shit ton of this. This is mostly what's out there. This is like, I'm in front of the camera, I'm holding the camera, and I'm just walking around talking to the actual phone. Vlog on site is showing your business, like showing what you do. Like if you're a power washer, you don't need to walk around your living room telling me about power washing. You can literally just show me what the product does. If you work in real estate, you can show me your Airbnbs. You can walk around the site of places that you are going to buy or have closed on. If you're a dentist, you can show us how you actually perform stuff. AI voiceover is a technique of doing like literally the whole video is just all AI voiceover or text. Lists, top 5 facts, reactions, which is this example, tutorials, if you do something that's highly demonstrable, or an event with text on screen. An event is like if you belong to an association and you're speaking, let's say you're a physician and you're winning an award or whatever, you want to capture that. And then later on, you can explain what happens with text on screen. It's just an easy way to make use of content that really doubles it down that you are a specialist in that area. I don't want to play that video because I know you're not going to hear the volume on this, but the only reason I wanted to point this out specifically for reactions, one of the coolest aspects of social media is that social media falls in the same purview as news. And so for that reason, you're able to use the fair use clause. Fair use allows you to react to other people's content without any IP restrictions, which is awesome. So, which is wild. So you can use other people's visual hooks if you're reacting to it, which is crazy. Because basically what you can do is you can steal other people's content and you can, because that's the thing that went viral, and you can be reacting to it. And so you can like literally be in the wings of something that goes viral. In fact, I've seen people get more views on a reaction to a viral content piece than the actual viral content piece, which is wild. And so it's a really cool tactic that you can use in social media to get a lot of views to turbocharge your business. He's just reacting to this video, but we can't hear it. This is about A/B testing. This is a video that we worked with on Alvin. We did that hook, sub-hook, problem resolution, call to action thing for him. It got 10 times more views. And so this was a good indicator of like, hey, we tried a bunch of shit. The one that stood out, we changed one thing. The thing that we changed was we changed the format of the script, and it did incredibly well on YouTube Shorts. Really what A/B testing, just if you guys don't know what it is, you're comparing and contrasting, and it doesn't need to be super nitty gritty. It's not like I wore a red shirt, I wore a black shirt. It's like, we're going to change like a whole thing about the video because short form is really short. And so you don't need to get super detailed. It really needs to be kind of like big swinging changes. It's like, I only talked on this video, or I used, what am I going to say, like props in this video. You really like are testing really big swings to see what's working, because you can test really big things because social media for the short form, the cycle is 30 days. And it's really easy to create. So you can test a lot of big swings. This is worth repeating, but it's so crazy. Continue what people like. So I've ran into a lot of people that like, they'll be like, yeah, people love this video, but I hate doing it. I'm like, man, it's like being in business and people are like, everybody loves this product, but I hate that product. So we don't sell it anymore. It's like, okay, like, sure, whatever. Same thing in social media. When people like that shit, just do it. When I was doing all of my science experiments, people love this thing called elephant toothpaste. It's like this like one experiment. I grew entirely bored of it. I never wanted to do it again. But everybody loved it, so we just kept doing that shit, and we did that shit forever, and we still do that shit because people love it. So here are the key metrics. This is the slide I was talking about when it comes to like, all right, when you're doing your A/B testing, you need to understand what it is you're actually looking for. Like, what are the things that are going to guide you? There are three metrics that are the only three metrics that really matter when it comes to short form. The very first one is average view duration. So in this graph, by the way, all analytics are available to anyone who has an account. It's not like some third-party thing. Every platform has their own analytics, like tab. Google's, I think, is the best. Meta's is meh, and TikTok's is like, okay. It's a little bit better, but whatever. So this is on YouTube Shorts. And so the one metric you really want to be dialed into is average view duration. That is the average amount of time that people are watching your content. So if I were to like frame what a good graph looks like for average view duration, it is this one. So I'm going to explain this really quickly. So you can see that it kind of does this quarter pipe, real smash far down thing. This is because on a scrolling platform, when people come across your content, they don't know if this is cool or not. And so there's always a big drop off. There always is, because in a scrolling platform, you didn't choose that piece of content based off a thumbnail. It just appeared in your scroll. And so there's always going to be a significant amount of people that says, I just wasn't interested in that. Now, what happens after that is what you should be really interested in. The flatter this curve, the better the video. And so, yes, we want it to be up here, right? But like, damn, 60% is awesome, actually. This curve is telling me that people are staying with this content more than the majority of the video, which is amazing. Also, there's really no like hard drop off there, because in this video, there is no call to action. There is nothing. It's just 1 minute of this satisfying glass thing that we did, and people watched the whole way through it. Now, the reason I bring this up is because the algorithm favors higher viewed videos. And the reason why is because the first rule of Social Media Club is that the platforms are trying to keep the audience on the platform for as long as possible. So if you can remember one thing about social media, right, it's to create your avatar, figure out your who. The second thing is that social media platforms are trying to keep people on the platform for as long as possible. If you remember those two things, you're in a really good spot, because that dictates literally all of the behaviors and all the patterns and everything that is going to allow the algorithm to say, I'm going to share this video to more people versus I'm not going to do that. One of those things, by the way, is telling people to go to a link that is external that takes them away from the platform. So if you say, go to my YouTube page from your TikTok, TikTok's going to be like, that like, no, you're not. Like, you're staying on TikTok. And so if it knows that people are going away, it shuts your video down. It says this video is trash. I don't want people to go away from TikTok. And so that's why average view duration is really important, because it's a part of this macro understanding that the higher that the more that people are spending time with your content, the more that people are going to continue to see your content, because it's going to get shared more. Now, the second metric here is
hey,
views.
Nick, can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
So does it help when you put a link in the comments, or do the social pages pick up on that when you're like, hey, check the comments for the link, and it takes it to another page?
That was my question too, because sometimes I even put CMNTS, so maybe I confuse Facebook that I'm saying to check the comments.
So it's really interesting, and I can give you guys a link for something called ManyChat, which is sort of like the way to get around this. And the reason why is because, yes, I actually would recommend not telling your audience to link out of your platform. There are other ways to educate people to keep them in platform so that they don't actually leave. Because if they go to their DMs and they know that information's there, there's a good chance that they're going to come back and they're going to keep scrolling. There's this thing on YouTube called, let me get this term right, it is called the viewing session. Yes, it's called the viewing session. And then all platforms have different like lingo for the same stuff. but YouTube has this thing called the viewing session. So it knows when you come to YouTube, right? Who do you go to first? Where do you start at your viewing session? Who do you watch in between? And who do you end with? The terrible thing is that the caboose gets punished. So whoever is at the end of that viewing session, wherever somebody drops off, so wherever you go to and you stop and you click out of the YouTube app, the YouTube algorithm goes, damn, whoever this person is like a YouTube killer. And they literally downgrade those videos. They say no, we don't want that. Whoever is at the top of that viewing session gets upgraded. This is actually something Mr. Beast talked about for a long time because people would always go to a Mr. Beast video first in the viewing session. And so his stuff kept getting upgraded. So if you like somebody, watch their video first. This isn't exactly applicable in scrolling platforms because the scrolling platform serves you what it thinks you'll be interested in most. But to answer your question directly, I would not recommend telling people to link out because yes, the algorithm does absolutely know that. And it does not like that.
Even if it's in the comments.
Even if it's in the comments. It could be in your profile. It could be in your comments. My recommendation there, without getting too super duper into the weeds, is to provide the same information that you're going to provide in the comments without them linking out. What I mean by that is if there is some type of information you're going to sell somebody a product or whatever, or tell them to go to something you're offering, just put all that information in the comment section. Or put all that into a, I keep coming back to mini chat, but it's you can do that without them leaving. Because a lot of it's education. The real reason is this, is people, if they go to your website, it's a bitch for them to come back into Instagram. They don't like that. And so it's easier for them to go, you know what, when I do buy, I will go to that website. It's just, unless you're actually selling specifically there. And if you are doing that, I would use ManyChat. I'm going to come back to that here in a bit and explain exactly what that's all about. But the second metric here is called views. We all know views. In the beginning, your views are always going to be really low when you're starting on a new channel. You kind of want to aim for 10,000. When you start getting around 10,000 views consistently, this is sort of a key benchmark for hey, you're doing something right. This is going really well. The third metric is not on here. It is total watch time. Total watch time is views multiplied by average view duration. Here's why it's so important. Again, first rule of Social Media Club is keep people on the platform for as long as possible. What metric shows that? The metric that shows what video is keeping people on the platform the longest is the one of total watch time. Here's an analogy. If you guys have ever gone to a convention or presented at a convention, let's say 100,000 people walk by your booth over that entire weekend, okay? But of those 100,000 people that walk by, they just look down at your sign and they keep on walking. Versus, let's say, 1,000 people walk into your booth and they spend 20 minutes at your booth learning about your product, understanding who you are, and they really warm up to you. Who do you think is going to buy? This is a no-brainer, of course, the people that came in and they talked to you. It's the same thing. It's analogous to content. It really, views are not the views are people walking by your booth. And the reason why is because a view is counted as 3 seconds. It's about how long it takes to scroll past your piece of content. So it's you can't always rely on views as the metric that is saying that this is a good piece of content. You multiply the average view duration by the views. Now you have total watch time. That's the way that you can actually A/B test or A/B compare what piece of content is more valuable, because that'll tell you the total watch time. And that's really the total value of any one piece of content. Because you could have a piece of content that could have 100,000 views, but the watch time was 3 seconds. Or you could have a video that got 10,000 views, but the watch time was 45 seconds. The one with that 45 seconds is way more valuable. Okay, also engagement. This is kind of the fourth metric. This one's, I wouldn't call it harder to analyze, but it's just not what we typically look at. We consider this, but it's not the biggest one. It's likes, shares, comments, all that kind of stuff. The key takeaway here is that within that first 24 hours of posting, that's when you, the creator or the business owner, you want to be in the comment section. We even recommend our own clients get into the comment section. Why? Because the person who wrote your script, if that's our company or whatever, we don't know your business as well as you do. You will always know it infinitely better. So if you're a mechanic and someone's well, what's the torque, strength on this bolt that you put on the under chassis? It's There's no social media manager on the planet that's going to know the answer to that shit. And so it's like, that person's you. And like, we want you to get in there and start talking and having a conversation with those people, because those are the people, again, analogous to like you're at a convention, those are the people that are really going to warm up to you and they're going to do business with you in the future. So like the comment section is the equivalent of someone entering your booth. Like, get in there, chat with them, like try to get as much as you possibly can from them, warm up to them. Also, the first 24 hours is really where all the engagement happens, because in a scrolling platform, it really, like, the first 24 hours is the platform figuring out who to send this thing to. And so the engagement does factor into the actual like brain of, is this valuable content or not? And a comment to a comment counts as a comment. So if you're in there commenting, you're helping the algorithm. And so we recommend to do that in the first 24 hours. Profile consistency, we kind of talked about this already, but this is just, I just want to drive this home, that your profile is your digital business card. Like, make sure that it tells people what you're doing. Tim's is just awesome. It tells you what he does. I've got a guide on this I can send out to you guys. It just shows, like, literally tells you what he does in his name. Tim Guru, home loans investor. I know what Tim does. I'm familiar with it. Then he has 4 lines of other things that really drive, kind of like if I were to do business with him, right? So he says he's an investor. Perfect. I know he's going to understand complex things like DSCR loans and DTI. Like, I'm not looking for my dream home when I'm working with Tim. That's what I'm looking for. Mortgage loan originator. Perfect. I live in Ohio. We can do this anywhere. Veteran. Amazing. We're going to get along well. My dad was a veteran too. Like, it's like, this is sort of like the part where you're selling people, but it's very direct. You don't just be like a total mess. This profile on the right did everything wrong. One, they don't have a picture, so we don't even know if it's a human. We dislike that, like hardcore. They don't have what they do. It's in a foreign language. Weird. It like doesn't even tell us. Then there's also a link to free stocks, but they say they're a realtor. So it's like everything's messed up on this one. Like, we don't like this because it's like it's conflicting. Actually, this tells me everything I need to know about this person. I don't want to work with them. Even though they have more followers, I would never work with that person because everything is a shit show and they're super inconsistent. And that brand to me says that they're not focused, and I do not care. So things we want to answer here: what do you do for me, and what do you do? Those are the key takeaways. It's literally like a business card, right? Like, you need to understand what you will do and what will you do for me. Key takeaway here too is, yeah.
What about using a company logo?
Company logos. I recommend keeping the name as a company logo, but keeping the profile picture a face. The reason why is people like to react. They like, and this has been like a lot of tests have been done on this. It's like people interact more with other people, even if it's just the face of the company. For example, Gary Vee, like, he owns VaynerMedia. They have 1,600 employees. He's still the face of VaynerMedia, like his personal profile, right? VaynerMedia, I believe, actually does have their own, but it's like super small. If you're like a company that's under, I would say, like 100 employees, I would still keep you as the face. But then you can also just have like, you could have it like M Corp, but then your face, because people always warm up to faces versus companies logos, because they just don't. It's just not as warm.
Gotcha.
And along that same vein, are we doing pages for our company, or we're pages suck and we're off of pages now and this is all our personal profile?
It should be a business account. And then for Facebook, it should be a page. The reason why is because pages will integrate to Facebook Reels. And there's no cap on how many people can actually follow you. So a personal page on Facebook has a cap of 5,000 friends, and a business page has no upper limit. And there's just better tools and functions. So you want to be a business account.
And not a professional profile, because I have a professional profile and we get a lot better engagement on a personal professional profile than my business page.
So you can, I'll have to look into the account setting. It's just a toggle for, are you a business account or not? I believe you can be a professional and have a business account. But I don't know what the drop down is. There's like a ton of drop downs on Instagram. I'll look into that for you specifically. But our recommendation is, even for professionals, you want a business account, not a personal account.
Got it.
And Nick, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So how important is across all the different platforms is the consistency and what that picture is that you're using?
We recommend the same picture. And the reason why is because on short form, you create one video and then it gets distributed across all the platforms. And so it's essentially like it's just gambling on different slot machines. And so you just have more levers to pull without any downside. So like we recommend posting on Facebook Reels, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and what else am I forgetting? And YouTube Shorts. Because it's all the same. It's the same video, but it's just plastered everywhere that you can possibly put it.
And are you posting that through a posting manager site? Or does that throttle down the views and the engagement as well? And you need to go to each platform and post organically or whatever that would be called?
Awesome question. In the very beginning, when these platforms rolled out the ability to schedule posts, there was like a glitch like in YouTube's, and I believe actually Instagram's too. This was like 2019 or whatever. Totally been fixed. Scheduling posts doesn't matter at all whatsoever. We use this platform called Sprout Social, and that allows us to schedule posts on a calendar, and I find it to be super easy. That one is like, you have to pay for that service. That one's not free, but that's my recommended one. Like if you have a lot of content or if you have a lot of pages, I think Sprout Social, there's a ton of them, dude, but like I think Sprout is just an easier user interface.
Got it.
Okay, so this is our system. This is actually our last slide, and I'm going to do questions here, so it's perfect. Our system, like this is what we do with all the GoBundance guys. We onboard you, we learn the basics, we get you passing the social audit, where we're creating content. You're gaining followers, you're getting views. Eventually, we assess leads, and then we determine if we're going to go organic or paid. The way that we do it, by the way, too, is like we've developed this system where it's what we figured out is that you don't need to be. I'm actually going to take out of. I'm going to stop my share. What we have figured out is that you don't need to recreate the wheel. Recreating the wheel takes a lot of resources, brain power, and frustration to basically create content that is going to be viewed mediocrely. One of the really interesting things about social media is that like the IP rules are like almost non-existent. So like if I go onto YouTube or if I go into Instagram, like I can literally take like the exact same concept, almost verbatim, like not exactly verbatim, but I can take that exact same concept and I could recreate it. So for that reason, what we have found is the best way to get views is to do what is working. Well, how do you do that? You do this. You come up with 5 sub niches within your niche. You write out 3 topic words. Now you have 15 words. Those 15 words describe what you do. You plug that into the search bar within Instagram and you see what accounts pop up. The beautiful thing about Instagram now is that there's like an AI tab that's kind of like trying to be kind of like Grok or whatever. And like, it literally is like, you will like this account. And so it does all the hard work for you. It like finds the accounts that fit those keywords. You take that account, take a look at it, see like what their videos are all about. Take that video and you put it into a spreadsheet. You take that account, you come up with 10 accounts that are just like that. After you have 10 accounts that are ones that are like based off of your keywords, you go in and you find, this is the key metric, you find videos in the last 90 days that have gotten 5 times their following. That is the threshold for what is viral. You then take those videos and you study them and you see what their hook was, you see how many views they got and what common things they did, and you write them in the notes section. Then you develop a script that is literally based off of that exact premise. Because the thing about it is sometimes it's like it's observational knowledge. There's no way for you to understand it unless you watch the video yourself. A good example is that like I watch videos from people on how they do social media content. And I realize that they do a lot of reaction videos about AI. And so now that I know that, I'm like, oh, cool. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. In fact, I can use that exact same reaction video about AI, and I can make that my video. And there's no harm, no foul. Like, it's not illegal to do that. So it's totally permissible. And so we found the way to like get way ahead real fast is to write your scripts that way. And so we write all of our clients' scripts that way, that exact way. And so that's, if you're going to write your scripts, that's exactly how I'd recommend doing it. Because that's going to allow you to basically jump ahead of a line. Because the issue is if you try to do it solely based off of your own intuition, you're kind of like a sole, what do I want to say, like R&D specialist. You're kind of doing all the heavy lifting for everyone else. And I think too, when you understand the framework for what's working, you'll always put your own personal flair on it, because it's impossible to say something not in your own language. It just doesn't happen. Like, you can't even say it. You can't even get the words out of your own mouth. And so you will always put things in your own words. You'll always sculpt it for your own way, but skip the line and do what people are doing that is successful in your niche. Don't niche jump though, because if you niche jump, what'll happen is like you'll be doing videos that are doing well for Hermosi, but it don't make sense for your niche. And so make sure you're in your own lane. That's a big common misconception. People are like, wait a minute, this video worked really well for Mr. Beast. I'm like, yeah, well, his audience are like literally like 12-year-old kids, and you're trying to sell to, investors who are 50. So it's like that you're going to talk to them differently. They're going to respond to different shit. Like, it's all different. And so you got to make sure that you're basically finding like-kind competitors, and that's who you're going to want to replicate your stuff after. So that's it. That's all I got.
Nick,
Yeah.
Can I just ask you a question? Thanks so much. I really appreciate all the great information. So I'm a bit confused on the store side. If I have a storefront or an Amazon store or something, how can I communicate to them, like, this is where the product's available for sale? And I guess it's a problem if I were to put it sort of into post, hey, go to Amazon, and, so how can I convey that? Just leave it in yeah.
There's two things. One, this is kind of okay. Are you familiar with this? It's called ManyChat.
No, ManyChat? I'm not familiar with it at all. No, I'll write it down.
So it's a free service. You can pay for it. The way that it works is that ManyChat allows you to say, comment the word like dog. You comment the word dog, and it automatically sends a DM, and that DM is either a link to a PDF or a actual like DM with information. In that DM, you can have it linked then to an outside source, but because that communication is stayed within Instagram, it stayed within that cycle. The platform isn't going to look at that as a negative, because it's kind of like footnoting information. It's like, oh, cool, yeah, I'll buy that shit later. Like, hell yeah, I'll do it right now. Like, dog. You're like, I'll do it whenever I want to do it. It doesn't punish you for that. In fact, crazy enough, it actually elevates that piece of content because it sees all the comments. And so that's how I would do it. Because if you start telling people to link out and people literally stop their viewing session to go look at your product, the platform's like, what? Like, no, because the platforms make their money by selling your information and running ads. So the less that you're on it, the less that they're making, the less they like you.
No, thank you. That's helpful. So they want to keep them in platform, right? So linking out's bad. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, like we do it to gain leads. Like we do it by saying like DM like prompts. So like good examples, like we'll show a video about like AI, and we'll say like, hey, if you want this exact prompt, because they're not going to transcribe it, they're not going to sit there and do it, and it's just annoying. We'll say, hey, comment prompt, and we'll send you this exact prompt. In that prompt, right, like in that dialogue, it's essentially a PDF of Uhas Media. So it's like it's a soft sell, right? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
like I'm giving you a brochure. And so that is an easier way to do it than to tell someone to go to their link. Plus, honestly, just for viewing patterns alone, people have anxiety about clicking links outside platforms they don't like because they don't know where they go. And so they typically don't like to do it that way. It sounds so crazy, but like they just don't like it. They prefer in-app ads that they know have been vetted. So when they click that link, they know that Instagram has vetted that link. They don't want to go to like your crazy link to somewhere. They don't, it's just, people don't want that.
No, that's helpful. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I've got plenty, so I wanted to make sure everybody else got to ask theirs. I took good
Hell
notes.
yeah.
All right, I'll go. And y'all jump in. Which platforms are the best? You said basically multiple. So we're posting on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. LinkedIn? Are we putting that in there or no?
I would do LinkedIn. I would do it anywhere that you can. The reason why is because distribution is the easiest part of the whole thing. Distribution takes like 4 seconds. It's like as fast as your thumbs can type and copy and paste. It's just not, it's like for how much you get for posting, all of the work is in creating the content. It's not in posting. And so here's the deal with the different platforms. Every platform has its own bell curve for its own main audience. The widest one is YouTube, just because it has the most amount of users. But like Instagram is probably like older Gen Z, probably peaks around millennial and kind of tapers off, right? Facebook is like peaks at like baby boomers and then kind of like hugs Gen X. Snapchat, super young, like Gen Z. LinkedIn, probably more bell curve around like 40s, 50s because it's more professionals. And so they all have their own bell curves. But because distribution is free, it's so much better just to post your video and capture whatever part of that bell curve is already there. Because then you have a bell curve even within your own bell curve of what your audience is. And so the idea is post everywhere. It is so worth it because it's so easy. Even if you get 20% of the views, 20% of the views that you got for free because it doesn't cost anything.
Yep. All right. Do we, so I know that you didn't pitch your service, but what is your service? Do you audit? Can I get you to just audit my stuff and then advise, or do we have to hire you, and what's the extent of your services?
Yeah. So thank you for asking. We started out kind of more coaching, and then we realized that like coaching wasn't the best thing. The reason why is because we realized that in order to get super duper like effective social media, it's a lot easier to allow someone with specialized information to like do it. If you're already doing it and it's already working, by all means, take all the information I gave you, use it, steal it, like rock and roll. But what we do is that we onboard people, right? So they fill out this doc. It's like everything about their business. We use a lot of that through AI cross-reference. So we have this like 2-page document of your business. We then study your sub niche in the exact same way that I described. And then we go ultra deep and we take out what's working and we develop byline scripts. We do that based off of how many pieces of content you want to create. And then we train you how to film, how to respond to the editor, and like generally speaking, like how to set up, your tripod, that kind of stuff, and like how to read the scripts. And then that then becomes this like cycle of us feeding you scripts. You shoot them, we edit them, we post them, and then we do a 30-day analytic review. The reason why we found that in the beginning, we actually were training everybody how to write scripts. The reason why is crazy, but it's because people like literally just started creating scripts. Like we were like, hey, like here's how to do it, and they were like, got it, and they just started creating their own stuff.
But I can
we
go
were
back.
like.
But I can go back to, I missed the part where you said whatever on finding the words. I'm going to go back and watch that. But once we find the words and the 10 words, and then the videos in the last 90 days that got 5 times the followers, the hook, the common themes, all that, will you do that for our business and tell us from that perspective? Like I can hire you to do that work and go research and find all that?
Yeah. So yes, exactly. So we do like 10 to 12 hours worth of research. And the reason why we like that onboarding doc is because it gets really detailed. We have a template that we've already trained with Chat and Claude. And so what we do is that once we've taken those scrubbed content from like-kind competitors who have done really well, we say to AI, we say, hey, here's the exact script that did really well. Here's our company that we really like.
That's what I was going to do. Yeah. Yeah.
They do this. It churns that stuff out, and then a human, right? Because like AI does a good job. AI gets you 80% of the way there, right? But there is a trained writer that basically says, okay, I'm smart enough. I'm a human. I can see what is happening in the video versus just the transcription, which is what all these all the AI stuff is all language model. And so the problem is that not all of social media is language model. It is video. It's like it doesn't understand right now. Like still, if I had a pan in my hand and I was like, showing you, and there was a sign on it that said like, this gives you cancer, AI doesn't understand that. So you have to go in there and you literally have to be like, okay. Like they said in the video, like which pan will you choose? But with no context, it doesn't make any sense. So you still need a human review. So you can get like 80% of the way there to be like, hey, like this is the structure, this shit works. And then you like go in and basically like,
Yep.
you know,
How much do you
mold it.
charge? What's the rate?
So we do it based off of deliverables. And so we have a package at 18, 12, and 8. And that goes 3,000, 2,500, and 2,000. And then if you do a 3-month commitment, that drops to 2,700, 2,250, and 1,800. And
say that again, because my brain was thinking, are you saying 100 or 1,000? And then I forgot
100.
what else you said. So start over.
Yeah. So for 18 deliverables, if you do 3 months, it's 2,700. If you do 12 deliverables, it's 2,250 if you do 3 months. And then if you do 8 deliverables, it's 1,800 if you do 3 months. We do the 3 months because most of the work is done actually in the pre-pro for us. So like to learn your business, because we have writers, right? So like we hire like a writer who's super well-versed in this space. And so like they do all that research. So they kind of got your company on the hook. And so like, oh, cool. Now I know exactly what to do. And they start to learn like trends that are happening in your lane. It's really interesting, like health coach stuff. Cause I looked over a lot of the stuff, like health coaching has like a wildly different trend pattern than social media marketing companies. Like it's like they're totally different.
Let me ask a few other questions. I know that we're running over on time. Do we need to produce X number of videos in order for there to transcribe our videos to then show them to the followers? Like, are they going to transcribe the first video and then start showing it to our people? Or do we have to have a rhythm and a frequency of making this video so that it sees, oh, this is a creator, let us start transcribing so that we can start showing it all?
Do you mean like how many pieces of content do you need in order for the algorithm to start working?
Yep.
So there's kind of like, this sounds so crazy, but it's the way to better explain this is actually to explain kind of how followership happens. Followership happens like if we were to graph a line, it's like this, and then there's this crazy huge spike up, right? Like that's your viral video. You don't come back down to the same level. You're up here, and then the majority of your videos are getting more of that followership that they're like consistently because they like that video. So now they're watching, right? And then it kind of sags a little bit for a bit, and then it spikes up again, right? And so every single piece of content that you put out there, the algorithm is working the same way and just as hard all the time. The difference is like, how many levers do you want to pull in order to try to get that one banger? And so it's like, if you were to post every single day, that frequency will be higher. The downside to creating that much content, in my personal opinion, is like, if you do too much content right off the rip, you could potentially not be putting your full self into it. And you might not be like doing the absolute best quality job for those pieces of content. And so that, if you have infinite time and you're the dream business owner, you got every system in place, EOS is rocking and rolling, and you're literally just sitting around trying to figure out what to do. Hell yeah, dude, do 30 pieces in that month. Like do as many as you possibly can. But if you find that there's a reduction to the performance, it may be because people feel like they're getting spammed. And so there is sort of like a turbulence at a certain point, and which is why like our highest package for us, our highest package is 18 pieces of content, because it's like, hey, if you get to the point where all 18 are working and you're getting a banger out of every 18, then yeah, we'll go up from there. But like we haven't seen that yet. Like you can do 30 for sure in a month. But there's no like, you got to do Monday, Tuesday. And like, that's the kind of thing. Like there's all these, I wouldn't call them conspiracy theories, but essentially what people have noticed in short form is this, is the more they produce, the more successful they are. And that's because there's more pulls of the slot machine. Yeah. So the more that you put out there, the more you're going to learn, the faster it's all going to happen.
Last question I have. I've listened to Tribe of Millionaires, Jamie Gruber, and he had somebody on there that was helping him go viral. Was that you or somebody else?
That was not me. So maybe I should talk to that guy.
Yeah. Awesome. That's what I wanted to know. Nick, Thank you so much for doing this, man. I appreciate it. I know that you're doing kind of a road show around Texas. You got to do Dallas again. This is San Antonio and Houston. We all opened it up to, and Louisiana. So we recorded it. I'll send it out to people that signed up, or actually they didn't sign up. So if somebody wants it, I'll share it with them and we can put it in the portal. And if I can do anything for you in Louisiana, let me know, man. Looking forward to meeting you in person.
Dude, absolutely, guys. And if you have any questions too, you can just email me straight, like easy peasy.
Yep. I'm going to be in touch. Hey guys, Wyatt Graves here. As you know from previous episodes of this show, I'm on a mission to grow a business that has 25,000 doors, a holding company of service-based businesses surrounded by a protective moat of a personal growth and development educational company. With that being said, I am looking for deals, I'm looking for talent, and I'm looking for capital. If you're interested in connecting with me, go to my website, wyattgraves.com. Send us a deal. I will be sure to include you in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're a real estate agent and you want to be my agent, you're welcome to be my agent if you bring the deal to me. If you're not my agent and you bring the deal to me, we will still get you paid somehow, some way. If you want to work inside of our world, then drop me a line, send me an email, connect with me. We're interested in attracting level 5 talent. And then finally, if you are an investor and want to invest your money, not only to get double-digit returns, but also to have real impact inside of the communities as we raise up the level of good life living throughout our properties with our residents, with our employees, with our communities, then I want to connect with you. Go to wyattgraves.com and fill out the contact information, and I will personally be in touch with you so that we can figure out how we can shake the trees together and win together. wyattgraves.com.